I'm going to have grandchildren, and Samir's going to have something to do with that, with their success, because of what he's taught me along these years. So it's not just by you going out and making a decision to build a team, you're not just impacting those that you can personally touch. One day Samir won't be here. One day I won't be here. But because of our decision to not just only recruit onesies and twosies, we want to grow by multiplication, and we're going to recruit and train and develop regional vice presidents. And those regional vice presidents are going to promote regional vice presidents, and so on, 7 levels deep. One day when we're gone, we'll still have impact in multiple families' lives. So these would be the reasons, or the macro perspective on why to make a decision to reset, no matter where you are on the 21st of this month. You can, and you should. And if you make a decision, you will finish with minimum 10 recruits by the end of the month. 10 days is enough time to do it. Right? Before I move on, I want to challenge every single person on this Zoom to hit 10 recruits. I don't care how you do it. Go and get 10 total recruits from now until the end of the month. Work hard. And by the way, what does hard work look like? The next slide. This is what hard work looks like. Okay, whatever you think is big, you need to take that and multiply it times 10 in your head. And that's what you go do. I'm talking to myself actually right now. You know, when this training ends, I'm going to help one of my teammates do a recruiting appointment. And then Lelix and we're going to go get 50 new prospects today and tomorrow. That was our goal. We're going to get 100 contacts this weekend, because I know what to do with them, right? And we have YouTube videos on what to do with them, with those contacts, I mean. But I can't remember the last time I did something like that. That, whatever you think is big, you have to multiply it times 10. If you are making 10 calls a day, that's great. That's a start. If you're making 20 calls a day, again, that's a good start. 100 calls per day. I mean, think about it. How long does it take to make 10 phone calls? 20 minutes? So 100, what's that? 2 hours? Right? I mean, you give 9 hours to your job. Go get 20 new contacts daily. I was listening to a Jeff Fieldstead audio, very successful guy in Primerica, and it has to do with building a big base shop. That he moved from the state of Utah to Nevada, Las Vegas. He knew nobody in Las Vegas, and within 3 months was averaging 100 recruits by 30, 40 clients a month. In 3-4 months from scratch, from knowing nobody. And the way he said he did it was he focused on getting 20 new contacts every single day. You should focus on doing 5 recruiting appointments a day. Get in front of 5 new faces, to offer the opportunity to get licensed in business with you under your leadership. Get your face in front of 5 new faces a day. But simultaneously, you can get in front of 5 QAs. You can get in front of, give yourself 5 quality opportunities to do business with somebody else every single day. You can do that. And again, I'm speaking to myself right now. This is going to be a big week. Set 10 meetings a day. See, for us on our team, one of the bullet points to winning the day is to set 5 recruiting appointments in a day. 5. And sometimes I get caught up in that number and I only set 5. I should be setting 10, right? And you start to compile all of these, bullet points of activity together, and you're going to be so busy, you're going to be dizzy. I mean, seriously, if you know what to do, if you recruit, 1, 2, 3, 4 directs and then start tap rooting through them, you're starting to build teams and legs that are, taking you on appointments and, having you go recruit people for them. If you've got your securities license, now you're doing investment appointments too. There's so many different things that you can do with massive action. If you are nervous on anything financially, guys, take refuge in massive action. If you're down because someone's beating your tail right now, take refuge in massive action. If you're behind on your dreams and your promises, take refuge in massive action and go get busy. And that's pretty much all I have. I'd love if there you go. I'd love if the person I learned this all from could give some insight on his perspective.
Yeah, so I do have some insight on some of the things that I heard, and I want to comment on it. The type of activity that Josh is describing is not for a part-timer, in my opinion. Okay, it's for a full-timer. So if you're on here and you're newer, or you're a little intimidated by, hearing that go get 20 numbers a day, make 100 calls a day, that's for somebody with their life on the line in Primerica, right? I did those things. Josh does those things. Shondell has done those things before. But it's not everybody has to do that right away. Okay. First, you have to understand, how to do some activity, and then you can move on as you can create more time in your schedule. But the thing I really want to focus on is that type of activity is cold market activity. When you are, and I walked away for a second, so I don't know if he covered this already, but I just kind of want to give my 2 cents on it. When there's 2 ways to do the business, you can do the business in the cold market, or you can do the business in the warm market, right? When you do the business in the warm market, you can be very successful on 10 calls a day. You can be very, very successful on 2 appointments a day. You can be very, very successful on 1 or 2 recruiting appointments a day, right? When Sheila came in the business, people said, well, at some point she'll run out of her warm market. Well, now she's going on 4 years and she's just digging deeper and deeper and deeper into her warm market. Cold market is when you talk to people you don't know, and you have to build that relationship, and there's a ramp up period when you're building trust with those people and building that relationship with them. But warm market, they like you, they trust you right away, right? So in my opinion, like if Esmeralda is listening to this right now, you have a choice. You can go on that schedule where you can, make 100 calls a day and get 20 contacts a day, or you can focus more on trying to recruit people that you know, or that they know, that are centers of influences, right? So it's like what Hector Lamarck says, it's more difficult sometimes to recruit better people and more market people, but that's why it pays off to that extent, right? So Sheila was a warm market recruit to me because she was already a client, right? If you look at Shaq's business, she knew me. She knew Ratna, she knew Hamad, which was his exchange, right? Who has several RVPs under him right now. The business is built typically in the warm market. Josh is always trying to go back and recruit his college buddies, his football buddies, things like that. If you can be in the warm, the numbers that you're going to run he's talking about 10x. I'm talking about 1/10, right? Now, 10x is a concept from Grant Cardone. I get it. You think bigger. But what I'm saying is if you make the decision to build the business with people that you know and that they know and get into a referral and networking business, you can do 1/10 of the work of the people that are in the cold market. It's a way better way. And actually, you can get bigger faster if you do it that way as well. Now, like he said, if you're down, if you don't know what to do, if you don't have anybody showing up, the only response is massive action, right? But if I'm someone, and we always used to say this, I don't even want you to think about getting into the cold market for the first 6 months, because what happens is people give up on digging for the gold too soon, right? You've heard that story. They say 3 feet from gold, right? You were right there recruiting that amazing person that you knew. It was just a little more follow-up, or they were going to lead you to somebody else. And then you just went to the mall and started talking to people, or you started cold calling people. Don't get in the cold market too soon. Stay in the warm. Keep digging in the warm. You know someone that knows someone that knows someone. When we used to give talks about recruiting, we used to say the 6 degrees of separation, that you are no more than 6 moves away from anyone in the world. Well, now the new Facebook study says that it's 3.5. So you are 3 moves away. Someone that you know that they know that they know is 3 moves away. You are 3 moves away from the next RVP. You're 3 moves away from the next top producer. And you have to think like that, right? You can't just resort to cold market activities right away. So if you've been around for, several years or even more than a year and a half, and you want to get things going, everything that Josh is talking about, I've done that before. Shaq's done that before. A lot of people have done that before. But as we get better at the business, we start to realize that you may not necessarily have to do that if you get good in the beginning at tapping into your warm market, which is what Sheila's doing, which is what Ismaldo's doing, right? Which is what Esmeralda's doing. It's easier in the beginning, right? For Esmaldo and Esmeralda, it's easier in the beginning to stay in that warm market because you're just getting started. But if you can make a decision that you want to stay in the warm forever, it's going to force you to get better at referrals. It's going to force you to get better at building relationships. It's going to force you to get better at your people skills and building trust so that you can become the kind of person that people want to refer you to. These are decisions. It's not just some people have a big warm market and other people don't. Some people make the decision that that is how they want to run their business. I can promise you, Sheila is never going to walk around a mall and she's never going to cold call. She has made a decision that she is going to stay in a warm market. And when she feels that warm market is getting dry, she's going to expand the warm market. I don't know if Marin's on this one. She may be on the other one, but me and her have been, we strategized a long time ago. How can you expand your warm market? And she thought of some very creative ways to expand her warm market. It's so much more efficient, right? 2 out of 3 can become a client in the warm market. It's less than half that in the cold market. When you're in the warm market, 1 out of 4 easily will join, sometimes 2 out of 4. It's going to be 1 out of 10 in the cold market, right? In terms of the calls that you make. So you guys make a decision. Do you want to be in the warm? Do you want to be in the cold? I would want to be in the warm, and I wasn't in the warm long enough. That was a mistake that I made. I resorted to the cold too quickly. So what we need to be strategizing about is what are some warm market prospecting tips? What can we do before we resort to just running very, very high inefficient numbers in the cold market? Okay. But I want to stress again, if you don't have another option, there's always something you can do. Right? There's a million people out there walking around. If you don't have a way to stay in the warm market because you haven't been creative enough and you haven't thought of a way, there's no excuse to be sitting home and watching TV. I would much rather be walking around outside and talking to people or making phone calls than sitting home watching TV. But again, I would constantly be thinking, how can I stay in the warm? How can I expand my warm? How can I expand my network? How can I expand my friendships? How can I expand my relationships, right? How can I meet centers of influences? I read the other day, someone said, the internet is the most powerful thing, right? But you can use it to do the wrong things or you can use it to grow. And it said, you can make the decision to meet anybody you want on the internet. And I thought about that and I was like, wow, that's I network person to person through friends, through events, through meetings, however, through introductions. I mean, with the internet, you can literally meet anyone you want in the world. You've heard these stories before, right? People say, man, this person messaged me 5-6 times. Finally, I saw how resilient they were and how persistent they were being, and I just wanted to help them, and I got back to them. I mean, you can meet anybody, right? So we know that we're 3 to 6 points moves away in our network from anyone that we want to recruit, anyone that we want to have in our business. And with the internet, you can meet anybody you want. So I think that, we just have to be way more creative in terms of staying in the warm and building our warm market. I'm purposely being repetitive. I want you guys to take that away from today, right? There was a lot said today. Chandel went over the micro, he went over the macro reasons, right? And then he also went over things that you can do on a daily basis. But from morning to night, I would be thinking, how can I expand my personal network, right? So that I can stay in the warm market. Because I'll finish with this. People that are in the warm market, you can run a schedule with a lot of freedom and flexibility in it and still make a lot of money if you're in the warm market, right? I've talked to millionaires in this company that say on their run, they still didn't work more than 4 or 5 days a week, right? Now, everyone's gone through periods where they work 7 days a week, 24/7 and all that, but it's because we're running very inefficient businesses. If you run an efficient business in the warm market, Primerica, you don't have to be a slave to your business. You can do everything you want to do, right, within reason, and still make a lot of money. Just like Shaq was saying, because I said that when I was talking about Sheila. I mean, already at 8,000, right? And these aren't huge securities trades or anything like that. She writes good life insurance business. She's in warm markets. She gets referrals. She takes her recruits into the field, into their hot market, right? Now, she needs way more recruits, and I understand that. She's not at 100 people. It'll get there, but look at that, man. She still has a job, and she's at 8,000. And this may be difficult for some of you guys to understand, but in the pay cycle, we have 18 days left. In the production month, we have 10. In the pay cycle, we have 18 days left. She's already at 8,000, right? So Primerica doesn't have to be that hard, but you got to make the decision how you want to run your business, how you want to play this game, right? I've made a decision also. I'm not going back into the cold market. Number one, because I don't have to, but why wouldn't I just spend the time to figure out how to build a warm market business than running back into the cold, dealing with the no's, dealing with the rejection, dealing with the idiots? And they're not really idiots. It's just that I don't have that trust. I don't have that relationship with them. So we need to talk about that more, how to build and grow the warm market. I used to tell, Chandel and Josh all the time, join a different church, join a football team, join a new gym, join a mom's group, do whatever you need to do to make more friends. No one is going to build their warm market sitting in front of a screen all day, sitting in front of a phone all day, sitting in front of the TV all day, right? These are the things that you guys got to be thinking about. But I promise you, the income you want is there. And as counterproductive as this sounds, or counterintuitive actually is the right word, it doesn't actually, when you're working it the right way, it's not as much work as you think, right? Not to ramp it up, yes, but once you get there and you learn how to do it, you can make money at will. Okay, guys? So appreciate you plugging in. I'll let one of you guys close it out.
I think that was good. I don't think there's anything else needed to be said, but I can attest to that. I mean, we definitely went out and started creating new warm markets. I definitely agree that when I reached out to people on Facebook that I actually knew from high school, from soccer teams and things like that, it was a lot easier to recruit them. So I can definitely attest to that 100% as far as that goes. So other than that, guys, I mean, Shaq was saying we have like less than 10 days left of the month. So make sure you get out there, set a bunch of appointments tonight, get on the meetings with your team. Well, not tonight, right now. Get on the meetings with your teams, and let's crank it out the rest of this week. Thanks for everyone getting on.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
All right. So my question is basically Samir just went over it as far as the warm market is concerned, because I really just